Welcome to the component overview video for this D-Bot CoreXY 3D printer build. I'm just going to show you guys each of the components needed for the build and explain kind of briefly what they're used for. This series is for anybody who has never built a 3D printer before and would like to know more about the common components used to build them. And it's also for anybody who is specifically looking to build a D-Bot CoreXY 3D printer, as that is what's being built in this series. So first up, just as you saw in the previous shot, these are all of the printed components used in this build. You can look at them on the Thingiverse page. There's a lot of them, and they have good descriptions about what they're used for. There'll be more detail on each of these as we build the printer. I printed these all in PETG filaments with 70% cubic infill. These are open builds V-slot aluminum extrusions. They've been cut to length and they're used to build the frame. I have a video outlining how to make those cuts, what kind of saw to use, what kind of blade to use. I'll place a link to that video in the description here for you. These are just some M5 low profile bolts used on these cast metal brackets that are used to bolt the frame together. The build actually uses printed ones, but I prefer the metal ones. It's up to you what you want to use. Next up, we've just got some rubber feet. These just screw on the bottom and help stabilize the frame. This is just a 12 volt 30 amp power supply that is used to supply power to the 3D printer. It converts the mains voltage to the voltage the 3D printer needs. Here's a little power plug with a fuse and an on-off switch for the mains. This is a 300 by 200 aluminum heated bed. There'll be some more info on it when we start assembling the printer, but you can follow the link on the bed if you want to learn some more about it. This is a piece of cork I bought at a craft store to insulate the heated bed. These springs are used to help level the bed, and they're also used on the extruder assembly. Here I just bought some cable with 4 stranded copper leads in it. It'll be used for wiring the stepper motors. And a bunch more wire that I'll just use various gauges to wire up the build. There will be a full video on the electronics and wiring of this build. Some split loom tubing used for cable management. The famous E3D V6 all metal hot end. The filament is fed into it and melted through that nozzle and laid down onto the bed. I've got the volcano attachment on it, which allows for larger nozzle diameters, as well as a Noctua fan, which should be a bit quieter than the stock one. But I recommend sticking with the defaults if this is your first build. The defaults work really well. Just thought it'd be really fun to try out the volcano nozzle and a different fan. Here we have a little hobbed gear that fits onto a stepper motor and grips the filament, pushing it through the tube into the hot end so it can be melted and laid down onto the bed. This is a blower fan that I'll be using to cool the filament as it comes out of the hot end. I have 5 NEMA stepper motors that drive the motion of the printer, and also the extruder which pushes the filament into the hot end. And here we have some flanged bearings used to idle the belts in the XY gantry. We'll go in more detail when we actually do the build about where these are used. There's also some other bearings. I believe they actually just use one of these in the extruder assembly. These are GT2 timing belts and GT2 pulleys. They attach to the stepper motors and drive the XY gantry. These lead screws and couplers handle the Z-axis up and down. You can roll it on a sheet of glass to make sure that you've got a straight lead screw. Here's a bunch of the fasteners, bolts, etc. You can see I ordered mine from McMaster Car. I'd recommend ordering some of it from McMaster maybe, and others where you'll need 1 or 2 bolts from a supplier who you can order 1 bolt at a time from. With McMaster you can't order 1 bolt at a time, they come in packages, and so you could get a lower cost by going with a supplier that'll give you 1 bolt in those cases. These are T-nuts that slide into the V-slot extrusions and allow us to secure the components to the frame and secure the frame together. The build guide suggests using M5 low profile nuts. I just had these T-nuts extra from a previous build, so if you can find the low profile M5 square nuts, they'll be a lot cheaper and you should definitely go with them. And here we just have some little mechanical end stop switches that will be used to home the printer. You can see they just have a little button on them that the printer will send the gantry using the motors in the direction of. When they're pressed, the printer knows that it's reached its home position and is ready to start printing from there. OpenBuild's mini Delrin V wheels, they slide on the V-slot grooves and provide the linear motion. This is just a big MOSFET used to regulate power to the heated bed. The build guide suggests a relay. I'm just trying this out on this build. On my previous one I did use a relay. And here we have the brains of the operation. The majority of the components plug into this and are controlled by this board. It's a Ramps Arduino setup with some stepper motor drivers. Don't be worried if you've never seen this before or you're not sure about it. There will be a whole video overviewing all of the electronic components, the wiring, and all of that fun stuff. Finally here, we just have a little LCD display, RepRap Discount Full Graphics Smart Controller. It just lets you control the printer and displays the status of any current prints in progress. Plugs right into the Ramps board. Also has a SD card reader on the side that the printer can use. So hopefully this quick overview of the majority of the components used in this build was helpful for you to get an idea of what components are used in building a 3D printer, or to help you build a D-Bot if that's what you're doing. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to answer them. Take care, guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And I hope to see you guys all really soon.